disciplinarian. Let's begin by taking this issue directly to Washington. Here now we have two distinguished members of Congress, Brad Sherman, Democrat from California, Jeb Hensarling, Republican from Texas. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on and helping me. Mr. Sherman, I do not understand why the Treasury Department and the Federal Reserve wants to depreciate the dollar, their stated goal. All this is going to do is jack up import prices, folks going to Walmart, to Target, to Dollar General. It's a huge inflationary tax on the middle class, Brad Sherman. Why are they doing this?
Well, I think our Treasury Department's in favor of a strong dollar, but we also have got to try to move this economy forward. That's why the Fed has lowered interest rates. There's been nothing has been done by the federal government to cut the value of the dollar, but we need lower interest rates in the middle of a recession, and that has an effect. But our trade policies are absolutely insane and are going to lead to a long-term decline in the value of the dollar. We have trade policies that meet the needs of Washington and Walmart and Wall Street, and not the needs of the American people, and especially the needs of our manufacturing industries. And as long as you're running a $500 billion trade deficit year after year, you're going to see a long-term decline in the value of the dollar. We need a very different policy towards China.
Let me bring Jeb in. Jeb, I want to ask you about this issue. To me, it is so clear. First of all, the dollar is falling almost on a daily basis. Not today, but the dollar is falling to new lows. Second, Jeb, the price increases. We have some charts. Oil prices and energy prices are way up. Agriculture, food, and cotton prices are way up. Industrial material prices are way up, Jeb. Shoppers are going to get slaughtered by this. How does an inflationary depreciation, which turns into a tax hike, help the American economy?
Well, it really doesn't, Larry, and you've laid it out pretty well, and in some respects, we're being asked to pick winners and losers. You know, I have no doubt that China is manipulating their currency, but you have to ask, is the cure worse than the illness? And as you well point out, what's going to happen is massive inflation, you know, for a lot of items that the middle income buy. And so be it toys before Christmas or clothing. So in some respects, you're being asked to choose between manufacturers and consumers. And what hasn't been brought up yet, Larry, is the fact that, you know, once we try to retaliate against China for how they're manipulating their currency, then what are they going to turn around and do to us? And then all of a sudden, you have the specter of Smoot-Hawley, one of the exacerbating factors of the Great Depression, rear its ugly head today.
You know, Congress has jurisdiction over the value of the currency thereof. That's in the Constitution. And Brad Sherman, I take exception. Manufacturers are not helped. You know why? Their imported raw material prices go sky high. In fact, the CRB Materials Index has got a new all-time high, and there's no stopping it. Now, I ask you, Brad, how is it that we can not take our responsibilities as the world's reserve currency? Aren't we the currency manipulator when it comes right down to it? We're supposed to be the linchpin of the system. Look what we're doing to the world's reserve currency. Doesn't that offend you?
Well, first, you haven't identified any federal policy that you disagree with. You say that the federal government's reducing the value of the dollar. All the Fed is doing is keeping interest rates low. And if you want higher interest rates, then you're talking about a precipitous decline in the value of homes.
But they're talking about more money printing, Brad. The Fed has made it very clear.
How else do you reduce interest rates?
And they want to print more money. The Treasury has not lifted one finger to defend the dollar in the open market. Therefore, market people know it's all about depreciation.
Every other country is pushing its currency down. We're not. But we need a lower interest rate to get our economy moving and to avoid a double-dip recession. But what we have is an insane trade policy. You know, with Smoot-Hawley, we didn't have to deal with managed economies like China. To have free trade where they manage their economy and we don't manage the trade on our side means, guess what? A $250 billion trade deficit year after year after year. Layoffs throughout America year after year after year. And yet we adopt a policy toward China. And I've got the bill that radically changes this. It's been co-sponsored by the chief Republican on the Foreign Affairs Committee. I wish Jeb would co-sponsor it as well, to say in 6 months we need an emergency change in our trade policies toward China. Otherwise, we end MFN for China. If we don't do that, we're going to preserve the present system, which is the most cancerous, lopsided trading relationship in the history of trade between countries.
Well, Brad, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeb.
Well, Brad, with all due respect, now I wouldn't stay up tonight waiting for me to sign on to the bill with all due respect. You know, it wasn't terribly long ago that the president put a retaliatory tariff on Chinese tires, and guess what? They answered with a retaliatory tariff against our poultry products.
And that's
so
why we should have
exactly
quadrupled all of our tariffs on China. And if we had zero trade with China, and that's not going to happen, but that would mean huge increase in jobs for America. We have an enormous.
You're walking down the Smoot-Hawley path.
Smoot-Hawley didn't exist with communist countries. What was our trade with communist countries when Smoot-Hawley was adopted? Did other countries have managed trade? Did other countries run huge cancerous trade deficits?
It may be accurate, but it's irrelevant to the point that what you're trying to do here ultimately, I believe, would precipitate a trade war at a time when the economy still is in a precarious position.
How can we lose a trade war with a country that ships us
over the trade deficit? But let's talk about the federal deficit, the one that under your president and succeeding Congresses have now turned in over $1 trillion deficit.
You don't want to talk trade policy.
That's ultimately what's going to hurt our economy, because Larry's right. History teaches us that ultimately you monetize the debt, you have inflation, it hurts pensioners, it hurts seniors, it hurts business, it hurts everybody. I think you're going down the wrong path.
Every time we destroy the value of our money, especially we learned this, I thought, in the 1970s, we are destroying our economy. It is a train wreck scenario. And the thing that I don't understand is why Democrats and or Republicans want to punish consumers. Shop at Walmart or Dollar General. What is wrong with having low-priced, inexpensive, but high-quality imported goods? And it's the same for business. That's the part.
Larry, do you think this can continue forever?
We're waging war on consumers. We're waging war on consumers and businesses by deliberately devaluing our money.
Larry, if you think that we can continue to run a $250 billion trade deficit with China year after year and borrow an extra $250 billion,
I don't like that
and then above
either.
and above that, you have no answer for it.
But I don't know.
But you
I
don't
have
like
plenty
it.
of answers for it. But
You have
depreciating
no answer
the currency
for it.
Brad,
and
your
running up
answer
the
is
inflation
inflation
rate is
and
not
a
one of the
trade war.
answers.
My
There are a lot of
answer is
answers.
to radically
But
change the trade
destroying our
relationship with China.
currency is not an option. It will end in no good.
No one's in favor of trade.
Gentlemen.
Larry, you're setting up a straw man. No one's in favor of depreciating our currency. Only my bill will protect our currency.
Brad, take a look at the currency markets. Go and open up your Wall Street Journal, Section C. It's called investments, and you will see what has happened just in the last 4 or 5 weeks.
The dollar has declined as a result of our trade policies. Our trade policies need to be changed.
Because the Fed's going to create too many new dollars. I got to get out. We're in a short, tight show this tonight. I'm sorry. Just take a look at what the Federal Reserve is doing, and you'll see they're going to print more dollars, so the value goes down. And when that happens, it's consumers and businesses that pay the inflation tax.
Larry,
anyway,
when you're ready to talk about China, have me on again.
All right, we will do the China thing with Brad Sherman and Jeb Hengeling. Gentlemen, thank you very much for helping us tonight. Now, one of the